Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Great to have another full house, a lot of good energy. Happy Tuesday. Tony, would you please call the roll?
Jimenez.
Present.
Torres. Cohen.
Here.
Ortiz. Davis.
Here.
Dwan.
Present.
Candelas.
Here.
Foley. Batra.
Present.
Kamei.
Here.
Mahan.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Great, and Foley's here as well. Great, thank you. Now, if you're able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, today's invocation will be given by Viet Steps, a San Jose-based Vietnamese American youth dance group, and Councilmember Duan will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Viet Step was founded in 2017 in San Jose as the first and only Vietnamese American dance school in the Bay Area. Their core mission is to preserve and reconnect the children of San Jose with the Vietnamese heritage, language, music, and culture through the beautiful and diverse art of traditional Vietnamese Mua Yang Yang dancing, including fan, hat, cup, ribbon dancing, and more, at multiple events and locations throughout the Bay Area. Please give a large welcome to our Viet Step and the founder, Chiêu Quân, and the amazing student dancer of Viet Step.
Trong nắng xuân tươi thấy sao tuyệt vời, ta xin chúc muôn người nụ cười ngập tràn trên môi, hạnh phúc sẽ luôn còn mãi và mang yêu thương trở lại. Ngày mai cũng đang dần tới, mùa xuân xua tan dối hờn, từng bước đến con đường ấy.
Nắng chiếu lung linh muôn hoa vàng, chờ tia nắng vào trong ánh mùa sang. Gió mãi mơn man trên đôi môi hồng, người em yêu tìm quên trong cuộc sống. Bướm vẫn tung tăng bay la đà, mặc trời mây buồn như trôi thiết tha. Ánh mắt mơ trong nơi xa vời, chờ mùa xuân đến đêm buồn vui. Dù xuân ơi xuân lặng xa heo bay, để chim muôn quay về với muôn cây. Tình xuân ơi xin dệt mối yêu thương, từ bao nhiêu năm tình sâu muôn hướng. Này gió hãy cuốn từng lá rơi, và nắng hãy chiếu màu thắm tươi cùng những tiếng hát điệu nhạc dân chơi vơi dồn ta say trong biển khơi. Nắng chiều lung linh muôn hoa vàng chờ tia nắng về trong ánh mùa sang. Gió mát mơn man trên đôi môi hồng người em yêu tình quân trong cuộc sống. Bướm vẫn tung tăng bài la đà mặc cho mây buồn nhẹ trôi thiết tha. Ánh mắt mơ trong nơi xa vời chờ mùa xuân đến đêm buồn vui. Ánh mắt mơ trong nơi xa vời chờ mùa xuân đến đêm buồn vui. La 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 la
That was beautiful. Thank you, Councilor Dorn, and thank you to Viet Steps for sharing your talent with us. Okay, we're on to ceremonial items. Councilor Torres, if you would join me at the podium, we will recognize Ed Solis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Silicon Valley Pride. Our Pride is this August, so happy Pride, everyone. Today we are gathered to recognize someone special to all of us, the king of open streets, Mr. Ed Solis, for his dedication to improving our communities. Ed's story began with his service in the military, which laid the foundation for his later efforts. After the military, he focused on making positive changes in Los Angeles by starting a successful nonprofit. Right from the beginning, Ed had a unique ability to inspire others. In 2000, Ed's journey led him to the city of San Jose, where he embarked on a new chapter as community coordinator for the Youth Intervention Services, and where I met him as a team member for our Strong Neighborhoods Initiative program. In 2003, Ed became a recreational supervisor and created the Alum Rock Youth Center. He didn't stop there, transforming the Community Center Reuse program into a respected neighborhood center partner program. Ed kept advancing as a recreation superintendent. He managed many community centers and programs. Under his leadership, these centers became vibrant hubs of activity, fostering connections and enriching the lives of residents from all walks of life. One of Ed's biggest achievements, I think we could all agree, is Viva Calle and Viva Parks. Oh, I know we can do better than that. We've all been to a Viva Calle and we've all been to a Viva Park. So another round of applause for that. These programs gain global recognition for their innovative approach to improving city spaces. Ed's efforts have truly helped make San Jose a vibrant and inclusive place. Ed's story reminds us that leadership isn't just about titles, it's about making a positive impact on others. His journey shows us that even one person can change communities and make the world a better place. Thank you, Ed. Your story inspires us all. It's a reminder that our actions, no matter how small, can make a difference. So let us recognize Ed for his amazing contributions. His work will guide us for years to come. And now I invite Ed, the king of open streets.
Thank you, Councilmember Torres. It's funny because when I started, Councilmember Torres, Javier Gonzalez from Google, Tamara Alvarado, they were all much younger folks working at the Washington United Youth Center, checking me, telling me I couldn't wear a blue hat because it was gang-related, which I didn't know about. So they schooled me up really quick. But you know, over the last 24 years, I've been blessed to work for the city of San Jose in all the different communities I've been fortunate enough to interact with, from the Mayfair folks, the people in Mayfair, to moving here to City Council. I've honestly led a charmed life because as crazy as I can be sometimes, everybody who's worked with me has kind of let me be that a little bit crazy and supported it in a system that always doesn't really look very fondly on thinking outside the box. But you know, from Angel Rios and John Cicerelli and our mayors and our council members, just supporting the crazy idea of shutting down city streets and making people walk, bike, and ride. Crazy idea, I know, but it's been one of the best things. They say that you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And giving 24 years of my life to the city of San Jose has been a pleasure and an honor, and I really appreciate all of you. Thank you all.
Great. Let's bring them down now. Should we bring them down, the guys? Yeah, no. Come on down.
Why don't we have the placemaking team come down? Come on, the people, the real people who do the hard work. Come on, guys, we're gonna get a picture of this.
Let's do one just then before they show up, man. Yeah. Let's get one before they come down. Let's do it. Happy retirement.
All right, Councilmember Batra, Vice Mayor Kamei, Councilmember Candelas, and Councilmember Duan, please join me at the podium, and we will recognize and proclaim Indian Independence Day, and our guests can come on down as well.
That would be easier, right? Yeah. Much better. Let's just, all right, thank you. Hello, namaste. So I want to say hello in Indian. Thank you for joining us today. Today is the 76th Indian Independence Day. This day has a tremendous significance. This is the day when the largest democracy in the world was born after hundreds of years of struggle with the British. This struggle, even though there were no militaries involved, this struggle was, and the freedom was achieved by nonviolence. There were tremendous sacrifices made over the years by many of the freedom fighters. So I want to take a moment to thank all those freedom fighters who got us the independence. And as a result, people like me got to live in a free, democratic world. Okay. Even though India's freedom was achieved through nonviolence, we did have a massive loss of life because of the partition of India in 1947. The people, because of the ethnicity and other some decisions which one should have never made, millions of people lost their lives. So I recall for them, and I feel the pain which the community suffered through that one. I also want to acknowledge that India's largest democracy has the best of the relations with the world's second largest, first oldest. So I want to get it right. The USA is the oldest democracy in the world. It is the second largest, so my facts should be corrected. Okay. So we are proud that the Indian people who have moved over here in the years, they have found it very easy to adopt this country, this city, as a home, because we truly feel at home. Okay? Today's proclamation is going to be received by Ramesh Kanda and the AIA. AIA is Indo-American Association. They are a representation of 42 other regional or smaller organizations. What they have been doing is the best for the whole community. They've been trying to bring the communities together by holding cultural events and the traditions, by celebrating, inviting everybody to join in there. They take the major events, This increases the understanding between all the residents of this country, and we are proud of our diversity. We are happy in diversity. We make prosperity through diversity. And Indian people of all 28 states are present in the city of San Jose, and they all make contributions culturally, economically, technology, progress in all domains. And India's relationship with America continue to get deepened, strengthened, and even today there's a delegation gone there for 15th of August celebrations over there. Okay? So we are coming closer and closer to that, and which I'm very proud of, and I find it for my community to be extremely helpful. Okay? So I want to claim now the proclaim with my colleagues from the council, the Vice Mayor, Mr. Condalis from District 8, and B.N. Duan from the District 7. So we proclaim the India's Independence Day and wish everybody a happy Independence Day. I want to promote one thing. Tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 7:30, we'll be having flag raising ceremony in the City Hall Plaza. And I would request everybody who is present here to join us and bring few of your friends. This event is for everybody, not just for the Indian people. Please bring as many friends, as many neighbors as you can. It will be a great event with performances and a flag raising with the City Council and many elected officials. Thank you for joining us, and let's give the proclamation, Mayor.
Okay, we are on to orders of the day. Does anyone on the council have any changes to the printed agenda? Councilor Cohen? Does anybody have any changes to the printed agenda? No? Okay, a couple notes. First of all, today's meeting will be, actually, let me take up this item first, then we'll get to the adjournment. The administration would like to defer item 6.1, which is the ordinance amending titles 2, 4, and 26 and adding title 28 to the San Jose Municipal Code to establish a municipal utility for electric service to October 3rd to get additional stakeholder and community feedback. Jennifer, I don't know if the administration wants to add anything there.
No, but we do request that deferral. We would like some more time to engage.
Okay, that would be deferred to October 3rd. So we will need to vote. Why don't we vote on, actually, I would need a motion to do that.
So moved. I was going to ask this question. I was under the impression that the deferral was an action recommended under the item itself and not, that the
I have
memo.
your other orders of the day.
Oh, it was an orders of the day
Yeah.
request as not an action. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a motion in a second. So unless there's any other, sorry, let me see if there are any other hands.
What happened here?
I seem to have lost it.
Mayor, I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
supplement that motion, if you don't mind because,
You can ask for a friendly amendment. but
Okay,
we
I
have-
can
We have a
ask for a
motion from Councilmember Ortiz and seconded by Vice Mayor.
I can ask for a friendly amendment, yes. I would like to accept the recommendation and supplementation from the staff memorandum. But I also like to supplement that, direct the staff to provide at least one council study session before the next agendized city council meeting on this item, which should include the following: the recommendation by Cohen and Davis, the recommendation by Torres and Ortiz, and the recommendation by Batra. Also to include facts and discussion by all impact parties, a map of all areas that would be transferred to the new San Jose Power, project construction costs and timetable, any incurred debt to our city will incur, ratepayer impact for those residents, including San Jose Power and those who aren't, and the last is possibility of including the entire city in the municipal power utility. Yes, for a study session.
Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilmember. Could I have Deputy City Manager Kip Harkness respond to that friendly amendment? Thank you.
Mayor, point of order, is that a friendly amendment or a substitute motion?
It's amendment.
Sorry, Councilmember Ortiz, do you accept the friendly amendment?
No, I'd like to hear from the city manager first, because that seemed like quite a bit of work to be
Okay,
added
so
to
that'll
that.
be, got it. Kip, go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, from Kip, sorry.
Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager. The reason that we're requesting the deferral is to begin to gather the information that we would need to bring back partially with the item. Everything that you've requested, however, will require several months of work and would require actually some of the authorizations we're seeking in the item in order to be able to gather. In particular, the cost estimates would not be available and the full impacts wouldn't be available until we had your approval to use the budget to do the research that we need and to work in partnership with our the other stakeholders that we'd like to engage with. So we would not be able to do a study session prior to some direction from you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with my original motion.
Okay.
Can we set a separate date so the study session can gather all the information in order to present it to our council member? And a lot of us are brand new here. We don't have the history of this LS Power and versus PG&E. So therefore, we need to understand clearly the impact onto our resident, to our taxpayer, who will be managing those lines, and also how it's going to impact our resident who are low income, disability. Those are information that I had my team and I had meetings with PG&E and LS, and there wasn't enough information for me to make what you call an educated decision that support our resident right here in City of San Jose. And this project is a huge project. It's anywhere between $15 billion to $50 billion. Am I correct?
Councilmember, here's what I'd suggest before you try to answer that, Kip, and I'll certainly defer back to you. But here's what I'd suggest. I think the friendly amendment wasn't suggested. What we're discussing right now is actually just under orders of the day. Do we defer this to October 3rd? If the council does decide to do that, I think it would be very productive to work with city staff to make clear what you hope to see when the item comes back in terms of questions you'd want to ask, information you hope would be covered. I think it's going to be outside the scope of this decision here under orders of the day for us to get into the weeds of what this might cost or other details. But I think it would be helpful to work with staff to make sure when it comes back on October 3rd, if that's the decision of the council, that the presentation reflects the things you hope to learn at that time. Kip, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yes, and I think that a future study session would be appropriate on this topic. It's a very complicated, nuanced, and multi-layered one. And so in addition to coming back on the 3rd, I could work with the city manager to determine an appropriate time and date for a more robust study session.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks. I have Councilmember Jimenez next. and then Batra, and
Yeah,
then
just a thought. I think there was a study session on this item a year or so ago, or a few years ago. So is it worth maybe recirculating that, so that way we can all take a look at it, and maybe it would answer some of Councilmember Duan's questions? I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, council member. Let's do that. And sorry, I may have gone in reverse order. Councilmember Batra, go ahead.
Micro. I think what my colleague council member has asked for, that before we have the session on October 3rd, we have a study session. The scope of the study session can be what possibly can be researched, because at the moment, the amount of information presented is really not adequate to make a meaningful decision to give especially an approval for the interconnect, application for interconnect. I would suggest that today's request should be that we defer this meeting. If October 3rd is right, then it should be done after a study session whose scope you can define, but it's certainly more than what it is today. So if that needs a different motion, I will be happy to work with my council member Duan to have a substitute motion, but I think the primary requirement is to have a study session prior to this meeting. So many of us are new on the council, so it would be beneficial for us to have that additional information.
Okay.
So would you want us to make a substitute motion? Is this the right time to do it, sir?
You would need to, I think that unless that's a friendly amendment, I don't know if Councilman Ortiz will accept it. You can offer it. If not, I heard a no. So if you want to offer a substitute, you may.
We are offering a substitute motion with my colleague, council member, that we defer the session to October 3rd, but a study session be held prior to that council meeting. And the scope of this is somewhat of those items can be taken as suggested items. They don't have to be all completed. Do what is reasonable, but certainly inform us more than what we are informed today.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. I'm going to take Councilmember Cohen. I have two more hands actually, and then we will proceed to a vote. So we have a substitute motion. Councilmember Cohen.
Well, first let me acknowledge this is a complex issue, and it's not something that it's easy for the council in a short period of time to get a full grasp on. So I appreciate the need for some more education, whether it be a study session or briefings that I hope that all the council members will have time to have between now and October 3rd. I actually think there's probably more value in individual briefings that you can sit down and ask the questions you need to ask to understand what's going on, rather than bring us all together to do it collectively. That's how I would approach it, and I think 6 more weeks gives you a lot of time to have multiple briefings, as I have had in the last 2 weeks, because I have a lot of interest in this topic. I had expected today, I'm all in favor of deferring the item because I think it's important, absolutely essential that we have those conversations with stakeholders before we take this initial primary action, but I was expecting to have a little bit of conversation during the agenda item, and I wanted to make some points now just for the sake of everybody to hear them. First, I want to be clear about the scope of what this action was, and I think that's what's making a lot of confusion. The scope of this action is creating the mechanism by which we can begin to investigate the possibility of investing in our own infrastructure for a utility. It's not at all about whether to spend billions or millions or any amount of money. We can't do that, and we can't get information about LS Power unless we put in place some titles and some definitions so that we can get the research that I actually expect will take 2 to 3 years. Am I correct about that? So the council
Yes.
wouldn't even be asked to approve any investment or any creation of a utility for 2 to 3 years, but we can't do the investigation without some of these initial approvals, and that's what this request was for. From the perspective of somebody who represents North San Jose, I'm going to just talk about this a little bit. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to tap into a new infrastructure that's being built by the state. The state, CAISO, is building new transmission lines into San Jose, one from the south and one from the north, one that's coming through North San Jose. We hear all the news about the unstable grid and the importance of enhancing that grid, and CAISO is doing that. And it's not just here, but all over the state. CAISO's building new transmission lines. We have an opportunity when that's happening to decide whether there's an advantage to us to partner with LS Power, who's building those transmission lines, to have the option to then be able to do some municipal utility hookups at those locations when that line is built. Doing it early would be the only way to do it in a cost-effective way. So we want to make sure we're on top of that, because that line will be built by 2028. So that's the context here. I get calls from businesses in North San Jose, and I'll call out one of them, Broadcom, one of the biggest companies in the city, who's had 3 power outages this year, who loses a month's work of R&D as they're testing their data switches and memory chips or communication chips that they develop, and would like to have options. And it's not necessarily saying that we're not going to continue to have PG&E power in most of the city, but when new developments come in, we may want to have that option to offer a different service for them. Data centers go into Santa Clara primarily, you may know. They're the main city with data centers because Santa Clara has a municipal utility, and the cost is less for people to hook up, and they feel that there's a more reliable service in Santa Clara than there is in other parts of the Bay Area. We have begun to get more data centers. 3 of them are being built in District 4 in the next year, probably more than that. One of them, Microsoft, is building a data center right next to where the new transmission line will be in North San Jose, and they've expressed that, boy, they would love to have an option potentially to have a different provider for their hookup to their data center. Having that option in San Jose may be a good thing. We don't know yet. We haven't done the analysis, and it'll take us 2 to 3 years to do the analysis, but I believe it's important for us to do that analysis. So I think it's important for us to have the conversation with the stakeholders between now and October 3rd, and the only reason I was pushing to approve this today was because I was under the impression that the sooner we get in line, the better with LS Power, but waiting 6 weeks may not cost us anything, and we ought to do the conversation. So I'm happy to defer. I just want to make sure I had a chance to say the things that I think are important for us to consider as a council. This is very complicated technical stuff, but we would not be approving the creation of a power utility. We would not be affecting any current users. In fact, the whole idea here is only additive with new users and not any current users. So I just wanted to be on the record that we ought to be thoughtful, and I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to have those briefings. Hopefully this will allow you to ask the appropriate questions when you get those briefings between now and October 3rd so that we can have a good discussion on October 3rd. But I don't think we need a study session of the whole council.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. Appreciate those clarifying points. I'll go to Councilmember Foley next.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Cohen, for your background information. Very helpful. I too, I'm going to vote against the substitute motion. I don't think we need, it was clear from staff that they can't put together the detailed information you're requesting in a study session prior to coming back to council with the decision to move forward or authorization to begin the process to move forward. As Councilmember Cohen said, we're not authorizing anything, we're not approving anything, we're not spending huge dollars or negotiating with LS Power. It just opens the door for us to begin conversations. So the study session, I don't know that, according to staff, they don't have enough time to put anything together of substance. But we did have a study session 1.5 years or 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3, about this issue, and that background information would be helpful for the new council members. But also, I would highly encourage briefings if you haven't had them already. Lori and her team are very helpful to sit down and have this conversation with you. So with that, I call the question.
Okay. I think we need a vote to call the question, don't we? Yes. Okay. So let's vote on calling the question. Okay. Okay,
Did you guys start it? Because it's not working for me.
So that passes.
Okay, please don't do that. Let me do it. Who started it?
So
Anyway, I'm not seeing the votes.
okay, it was 9-2, so that passes. That's a supermajority. I do, just before we vote on the question, I just want to clarify what we're voting on. The substitute motion we'll vote on first. Both motions include the administration's request to defer the item to October 3rd. The substitute motion asks the administration to do a study session between now and then. The underlying motion does not. So let's vote first. When we're ready, we will vote on the substitute motion first. And for those watching, we are still getting used to this new system that we have. There it is. This is on the substitute motion. Okay, that fails. We will now vote on the underlying motion, which defers the item to October 3rd. Oh, disappeared. Now it's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still learning it.
Okay. That passes.
Did you guys end it?
10-1. 11-0. Okay, that passes. Great.
Is he doing it?
Just as a note, we are going to move on to the rest of orders of the day. I just want to reiterate what my colleague said. We will circulate the study session that was done last year, which is very informative. I also want to encourage colleagues to take advantage of the opportunity to schedule meetings with senior staff and go through issues and ask follow-up questions and have as many meetings as we need between council meetings to get these questions answered, and then we can still bring great questions to the council meeting, including on the 3rd on this item when we will take it back up. Okay, we are still in orders of the day, and just want to speak to the adjournment. Today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of former District 10 council member Nancy Pyle, who passed away on July 4th, 2023. Nancy was a beloved and award-winning July 14th of 2023. Nancy was a beloved and award-winning teacher, San Jose Evergreen Community College trustee, and served 2 full terms on the San Jose City Council from 2004 to 2012. Councilmember Jimenez will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm honored to lead the adjournment for former council member from District 10, Nancy Pyle. Nancy, and some of this the mayor touched on, but I'll reiterate this, and I'm sure folks will learn a little something new about Ms. Pyle as I read through this. But Nancy passed peacefully on July 14th, 2023 of natural causes with her husband Roger by her side. Nancy was born in Syracuse, New York. Her family were dairy farmers in nearby Camillus, New York. Nancy was the oldest of 4, Patricia, Maureen, and Larry. She graduated from Lemoyne College, a Jesuit school with a bachelor's degree in French. In 1960, she married and moved to San Francisco Bay Area, where she later had a son, Jim, who's here, and daughter, Lisa, who's also here. Nancy was a beloved and award-winning teacher, as the mayor stated. She primarily taught 5th grade in San Jose Unified School District at Carson, Erickson, Schellenberger, and Baccarat elementary schools. She also taught 8th grade at Castellero Middle School. Nancy was promoted to San Jose Unified District staff and was a registered lobbyist and a publisher of a weekly newsletter in 4 languages. Always striving for more, Nancy became a licensed realtor and sold residential real estate in her spare time and during her summer breaks. During this time, she also obtained her master's degree in educational administration from the United States International University. After she retired from San Jose Unified, she ran for the job of community college trustee and won, serving 8 years there. During her tenure, she helped pass a bond measure which allowed San Jose City College to get a new library and refresh their football, track, and field, while Evergreen College got a new nursing training facility. In 2004, Nancy won a close race for District 10 for the San Jose City Council, and in 2008, she was re-elected by the largest margin in District 10 history and the 2nd largest in Santa Clara County history. She served a max of 8 years on the San Jose City Council. Now, during her time on council, she helped bring numerous businesses to Blossom Hill and Almaden Expressway corridor. With her leadership in 2010, the first Whole Foods market in San Jose was opened. Additionally, Nancy turned vacant space next to Pioneer High School into a much-needed daycare business. supported her community by repaving streets, upgrading parks, and securing funding for after-school youth recreational programs, including the much-renowned and appreciated and loved Patty O'Malley Joint Use Soccer Fields in South San Jose in District 10. Nancy retired to the village in San Jose, where she was president of the Democratic Club for 3 years. She is survived by her husband Roger, her son Jim, and her daughter Lisa, who all live in the Bay Area. And I'll just add a note in that we as elected officials know that much of the work that we do is really only because we have supportive spouses that stand by our side and support us as we go down the road of public service. And so I just thought it was important to acknowledge Roger Pyle, who's here, Nancy's husband, who was a constant present by her side at every event. If you were ever around Nancy, you saw Roger. And so I'm sure she couldn't have done everything she did without you at her side, Roger. And so with that, join me in wishing them well as they grapple with such a big loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. I had the opportunity to have a few conversations with Nancy and Roger a few years ago, and we'll always remember Nancy for her just incredible energy, her brightness, her kindness, really a very good and decent person, and had a real impact for the community. We're sorry for your loss and appreciate Councilmember Jimenez's tribute. So today's meeting will be adjourned in Nancy's memory. With that, we are on to the closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have a report out of closed session today.
Thank you. Okay, on the consent calendar, I will be pulling item 2.14 just to ask a couple of quick questions. If anyone here from the administration is able to answer questions on 2.14. Do we have other items my colleagues would like to pull from consent? Okay, Councilmember Batra, is your hand up or you? No, okay. We're still getting used to that. I see a green light flashing. Okay, got it. All right. And I will be brief on 214. So thank you all for coming down. Appreciate all the work that's been done across different departments, CMO, PBCE, police, finance, to bring forward this new towing contract. And as I understand it, this contract will make it easier for city departments to move a vehicle when appropriate, recognizing that, of course, we will work with our residents to resolve vehicle issues, and towing's really a last resort. Wanted to talk a little bit about, if you can share with us, how this new contract strengthens accountability and makes it easier to move vehicles when necessary.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Jimenez here with San Jose PD. San Jose PD's component really is taking over a new system. We really didn't have a whole lot of work with the old system, but the accountability measures are built in the fact that it's automated, there's analytical components to it. We can pull reports that we didn't have the ability to do before.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. Anybody else want to add anything, or does that cover it?
Just one add. Sorry, the sound of thunder there. There are a couple of components in the contract, and Albie can speak more to this as well. Rob Lloyd, Deputy City Manager. It does allow point-to-point towing, which was a key addition that we identified in that process. So it's not just to the impound lot or the tow yard, but also to potentially safe lots. There's going to be tracking of that and integration with the police system and our CRM system.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. That was actually anticipated my second question, which is whether or not this contract enables the city to tow vehicles specifically to, say, a safe parking site or a potential future safe designated area for an RV or lived-in vehicle.
And that it does. And credit to the team for negotiating that, confirming it in the negotiations, and the rates are stated in the contract.
Great. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that. I appreciate it. With that, I'd certainly entertain a motion on the entire consent calendar.
A motion for approval. Second.
Okay. Motion approval. Do we have any public comment?
Blair? Blair Beekman? He's not unmuting, so I'll go back to the council.
Okay. Great, let's vote. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Rob, I heard a rumor it might be your birthday today. Is that right? Happy birthday. Hope you get to enjoy the rest of the day. All right. Item 3.1, report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report today.
Okay. Thank you. So we are on to item 3.3, actions related to Fire Station number 8 relocation. And we do not have a staff report. No presentation. Yeah, no presentation.
Move to approve?
Second.
Okay, great. Do we have public comment?
There are no hands.
Okay, don't see any further commentary. Let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're on to item 3.4, soft story seismic retrofit program application, and we do have a staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Rosalind Huey, Deputy City Manager and Acting Housing Director. I'm joined this afternoon by Ray Reardon, Director of the Office of Emergency Management, and Lisa Joyner, Deputy Director in Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. So we are very excited to bring to you this afternoon action seeking approval to submit a grant to FEMA to further develop the city's mandatory soft story retrofit program. And just as background information, the city has been focused and concerned about soft stories throughout our city for quite some time. So we first received City Council direction back in 2014 to take a look at soft story buildings throughout the city. In 2017, the City Council decided to prioritize this work, and actually at that time it was number 8 on the council policy priority list. In 2018, staff submitted an application to FEMA seeking funding to actually do work to create an ordinance and to bring on consultants to help us with the analysis. The grant application was forwarded to FEMA from Cal OES in 2019, and unfortunately, it took some time for us to hear back about the grant award. FEMA was actually tending to several emergencies throughout the country, including floods and wildfires and the COVID-19 pandemic, but we did finally hear back in 2021 that the city was awarded the grant. So city staff started our work last year. We actually hired a project manager to work across departments. We've hired a consultant and engineer to help us with the analysis. And this year, particularly this summer, we focused on doing outreach and engagement with both building owners, associations, stakeholder associations, community-based organizations, and well as residents. So I just want to take a moment to talk about, why this is important to our council and to the administration. It's because we want to make sure that all of our residents are safe in the units that they are living in. And we know that soft story buildings, in fact, are unsafe, that if we were to have an earthquake, that these buildings, and you can see the images on this slide, it can be deadly. So it's threatening lives to people living in these dwellings. It has the potential of starting fires and those fires spreading throughout the neighborhood. Obviously, a financial loss to building owners and to residents living in them. Displacement of our residents, and obviously a significant delay in terms of how the city would be able to recover to such an emergency. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Ray, who's going to talk about the existing grant and also the new grant that we're seeking your approval to apply for.
Good afternoon. Ray Reardon, Director of the Office of Emergency Management. So when we applied for this grant back in 2018, there was a real process developed. And one of the delays in the FEMA approval was that they needed us to split the program into 2 phases. Phase 1 would be the program development, looking at all the variety of the buildings that meet the definition of a soft story. Developing a mandatory soft story seismic retrofit. It's very important to understand this grant relies on the conclusion of a mandatory soft story retrofit ordinance. It also allowed us to do outreach and engagement, which is described, we've been doing this summer. And then drafting a compliance program, ordinance, and rebate pilot project. Now we have, those are in development right now. They will be done and will be coming back for review and approval. And then the second phase was to actually implement compliance and creating this pilot program. And with the total cost between both phase 1 and phase 2 is $6.2 million. And the phase 2 is the bulk of it at $4.2 million, which will allow us to retrofit as a pilot about 90 properties. The new grant that we're requesting for approval today, that's why we're here today, is this part of it, is to apply for a $25 million grant so that we can make an expansion of the pilot program to address more facilities, more structures that need the requirement. The grant would be 75% FEMA mitigation grant, and then 25 non-federal local match. So that'd be direct costs from either the general fund, cost of personnel time, managing and addressing it and running the program. These grants come around, these mitigation grants come around about twice a year, one time a year annually in August, but also after every disaster. So the funding for this is coming from the storm disasters that we had in January and March. FEMA sets money aside for grants, and so this goes into the grant pool now with the application. And I'll be turning it over to Lisa.
Good afternoon, Lisa Joyner, Deputy Director of the Building Division. Next slide. So we're looking for a recommendation on 3 items to apply for the California Office of Emergency Services Hazard Mitigation Grant, to allocate an amount not to exceed $6.25 million for the duration of the grant, subject to the appropriation of funds as a local match, and to negotiate and execute the Hazard Mitigation Program grant application package, including the State of California Standard Agreement. And just an update on some of our next steps. So for the month of August, we have been doing and will conclude our pre-ordinance engagement with the property owners, tenants, and other interested individuals. In September, we will be going back to the Housing and Community Development Commission with an update. In October, to the CED committee with an update, and then anticipate coming back to council in late fall with the proposed ordinance. Thank you. If you have any questions.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the presentation and the work that's gone into this application. Certainly really important investment for us to make. Let's go to public comment first.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Can you hear me okay? Just
Yes.
to be clear.
Yes.
Can I be heard? Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I can. Thank you. I wanted to offer, This is an item, sort of the work that Jackie Morales-Frand has been working on for like decades. You know, it was very important to her to create a subsidy process for earthquake retrofits as a way to engage both owners and tenants in like how to create a safer future. And those sort of savings can then be passed along to tenants, basically. It was really good planning on her part and wanting of these sort of things. I think more of the community can understand her point of view, what she was asking for 10 years ago now. And it's from that. People like Paul Soto has recently brought up, as these funding dollars will be coming in for owners, will they be displacing tenants for a period of time for the retrofits to take place? And if they are you making arrangements for tenants to be taken care of? And can you talk about that at this time on this item today and what exactly is being done with that issue? It's important. I mean, this is a really important concept to work on as owner-tenant relationships and what can develop from the future. So if you can go into explanations how tenants will be protected during this time, it'll be important to hear again. Otherwise, thanks a lot for this item, and good luck in being really open and clear and how it can really serve both owners and tenants. Thank you.
Rocio Molina.
Hi, everyone. Rocio Molina, Interim Deputy Director of Catalyze SV here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on this topic and to learn more about what the department is doing to support, our emergency preparation as a community. I just want to highlight for the staff that there are a number, at least 22 community-based organizations who have been brought on to a master agreement bench of consultants to provide community engagement and outreach services to the city of San Jose through the Department of the Office of Economic Development. Their staff is available to help kind of coordinate contract negotiations and management so that the city and its departments and staff can utilize these resources in a more timely manner. I definitely encourage you all to consider this, as it sounds that there is still some community engagement, outreach, and education that needs to happen to prepare for these retrofits and updates, in particular to the previous speaker's point about the tenants' concerns and relationships regarding displacement. We or any of the other community-based organizations on the list would love to support in that work. Thank you.
Back to council.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff. Oh, there we go. Didn't want to press it twice because then it just shuts it off. But thank you, staff, for your hard work on this very important matter. I think that it's really critical for our residents to live in safe homes, and I saw some of those photos, and it's like, wow, that is a very serious matter. And especially as I've been getting more acquainted here and seeing more and more of these soft story apartments, in our districts, especially working class communities. And I actually just got a new apartment, and I'm in a soft story apartment, and my car is parked under that, and I would really appreciate for that not to happen. So I definitely understand how important this is. Just had a few questions about the matter. I've read reports, and I've also heard that in some occasions landlords evict tenants on the premise of substantial repairs needed for an apartment, also known as renovictions. A loophole that is hopefully going to get addressed at the state level. Has staff looked into developing any sort of condition for approval of access to these funds that would not allow for these evictions?
Thank you, Council Member. So staff is in the midst of actually developing the guidelines around the rebate program. I do want to point out, and this is very good, that the funding that we've received from FEMA is flexible. So that funding not only can just go to the building owners, but there is provision that if the city sets up a program, funding could go to individual tenants as well. So we're working together to figure out how best to craft the program and the guidelines and figure out how best. Obviously, we know it's a cost, and so we're trying to figure out how best to augment that cost. In fact, it could be a combination of some grant funding going directly to the building owner for the improvements, and then some funding directly to tenants to provide their assistance during their process. So we're still figuring out to be determined, and as we, continue to get feedback from both building owners and tenants, we'll incorporate that in the draft ordinance, and we'll be sharing it with the HCD Commission, CED Committee.
Thank you. I appreciate your answer. I didn't hear anything specifically in regards to evictions or tenant protections. Is that something you guys are looking at?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And many of these buildings, the properties, we know that they are already subject to our rental ordinance. So we are working very closely with our staff in housing on that matter, absolutely.
So would they be able to use this like substantial repairs reasoning to evict if they're under our rental ordinance?
I don't have a direct answer to that question. I know Kristen Clements is in the audience. Kristen, I don't know if you have a direct answer to that, or is that something we'd have to get back to you? Yeah, it looks like we'll get back to you on the specifics.
That'd be great, because as we're dealing with the homeless crisis and other things like this, it wouldn't make sense for us to pay landlords and then they evict their tenants. It's like we're paying people to evict their tenants.
Yeah, clearly that is not the purpose of this ordinance and program.
And then do we understand when the inventory is going to be public? Because like I said, as I was apartment searching, I thought I originally had only 3 apartments in my district with soft story, and then I'm like, wow, practically almost every single one is soft story. So when do you think we'll have somewhat of like an inventory prepared?
Yes, the consultant is actually finalizing that report this month, so we anticipate having that report being available to the public in September. After we, review the analysis, we'll be incorporating that, like I said, into the rebate program that we're drafting, as well as the ordinance. And our first stop is at the Housing Community Development Commission, so we'll be sharing those findings at that meeting next month.
Excellent. Thank you.
And currently, we know the consultant has already shared with us, there are about 3,500 properties identified. And just want to share with you, that's based on like a window shield evaluation. It's not an engineering report. So building owners will have the opportunity, if they so desire, to do their own engineering report to either verify their building is soft story, or opposite, perhaps not.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work. That was all my questions.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Jimenez?
Okay, it's on. I appreciate all the questions, because those were some of the questions I had. I'm not sure if I missed it in the answer, but do we know, because are other jurisdictions already going down this road in which they're doing renovations and retrofits, I should say, to some of the buildings?
Yes, particularly here in the Bay Area. There's San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, a number of jurisdictions here. Los Angeles has done it, a lot of the other larger jurisdictions. So we're following. The contractor that we have on, the consultant, has experience in working and engaging those jurisdictions and helping us with the process.
Okay, very good. And have we found this is the intersection of this as it relates to tenant protections interests me, and that's why I appreciate the comments as well. So what I'm curious about is the retrofits that we've seen done in other cities, do they typically need to ask the tenants to step away for a week or 2? I mean, have you seen that be the case? I'm not sure if you have that info. But.
Thank you for the question. The answer is no. Most often the people stay in the building. The area that they're working on is typically below the building, not in the tenant living quarters. So it's down in the garage area, that soft story, that main part of the building that's considered soft, to put in the bracing and other tools that make sense for that building.
Right. That's what I assume too, but I think it's wise, as to Councilmember Ortiz's points, to look out for some of the, which is actually a term I hadn't heard, the renovictions. But yeah, that makes total sense to me. The other question I have is, so there's about 35 buildings just in a sort of a glance and a very quick sort of analysis, about 3,500, huh?
3,500, yes.
Okay, and what I imagine is that not all of those are housing units, if you will. Some of them may be businesses, right?
Some of them may be businesses, correct.
And so do you, I had my team reach out to you, and I think it was you, Ray, but asked about sort of the equity piece. As you can tell, this is what we're alluding to. So what I'm curious about is, do you foresee a situation in part of the analysis in which you would want to move forward first with the housing units, with the housing buildings that are, say, apartments, as opposed to the businesses first? Or is there a way, have you thought about a strategy as to how to approach that?
Yeah, that's what this development we're going in, so now that we have the inventory, now that we're understanding the inventory, now we're going to start looking at prioritization and methodologies around that.
Okay. And do you just, off the top of your head, or anyone, do we, because I asked this because my inclination, just my immediate reaction is, well, we should certainly focus on the apartments that are soft story before we go down to, say, and not to sort of demean any business, but smaller sort of an insurance business or something, which obviously is going to impact the livelihood of the people running that business. I totally understand that. But as just comparing that as it relates to the impact on someone's livelihood day in, day out, where they live and sleep, right? And just thinking about that.
Our vision is taking care of our residents. So that's the direction we want to go, and making sure it's safe for habitability, particularly where people are living.
Okay. All right. And then because we're creating a draft ordinance, I imagine we go around, offer the rebates when we have the money and start doing that work, that it's going to be a requirement that if I am an owner of a building needs to be retrofitted, that I'm obligated to do that work, and hence we're offering you the rebate to do the work, right?
Correct. There'll be a direct relationship to the work being completed. And the money, the funding is
That's God.
Lost my train of thought there. We are focused on making sure, now both are working, okay. My speaker systems, I guess we have to get used to it too. We want to make sure that not only we're addressing the prioritization, we're looking at equity, we're looking at all the components. And the program itself is, what I want to point out, this is a reimbursement program. So as we have to expend the money first, and then we apply back to FEMA for the reimbursement. So it's not like the grant is a bunch of money that's dropped in the city's lap to operate. We have to demonstrate that the work is complete, and it's focused on saving lives. And that's the focus we have on the grant.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Batra?
Thank you for trying to get the federal funding for this important program. Trying to understand that you have phase one, which is approved and is almost complete. Is that right?
Correct, of the previous grant. So we're here to apply for a different grant, a separate grant.
Okay. And the phase two is to begin once the phase one finishes, but you have already the money allocated from the federal $3.2 million and total amount of $4.3 million, right?
It's a total of 6.2. 4.2 is for the actual implementation in phase two. Okay. So it's a little under $2 million for the development of the program.
Okay. And based on the success of that, now you're going for $25 million.
Correct, of how the implementation is done. And so you have to complete phase one, submit the ordinance, FEMA's got to approve all that, then they approve phase two beginning. We can't start phase two until we get the approval, so that'll take some time. So there's a lot of time built in our timetable to address those things. And then this is the second grant that we're applying for here is to take the pilot program and expand it.
Okay. And I see that you have an estimate of about $130,000 for 100,000 per retrofit. So that would give us about 25,000 homes. Is that correct? If it is $25 million you're bringing?
No, we're getting 25 million. I think we identified as could be 190 more buildings or something. Do you know the number?
Sorry, that would be 2,500.
2,500, yeah.
2,500,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, that's, okay, so that's the number we are trying, and you said there are about 3,500
There's
number in
3,500.
the city. Okay, all right. Okay, that seems like a good progress there. We should be able to get our job done in these 3 phases. And thanks for all the great work. I'd like to move the motion to accept the report.
Second.
Great, I heard the second from the Vice Mayor first, and Vice Mayor, you are up next.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess there's a little bit of delay when you get turned over to on the request to speak. I just want to thank the staff so much. I know my staff has been asking a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions about this because in District 1, approximately 30% are soft story. And so it's a very, very high number for my residents, and lots of apartment buildings. I know that it doesn't seem like it, but a lot of them are very old. So I just want to be clear that at this point, this is the application for applying for the grant, but that the ordinance will come back to us, and at that time, we will see how it's going. I know that there are a lot of different models out there, even for single-family homes. The state has a program. I don't know if it's been terminated or maybe it came to an end, but they were giving a certain amount for bracing of your home, which, you know, for earthquake safety, it was very good. I know we took advantage of it, and it's something that at any time it could happen. And the consequences, and talk about displacement, it would be huge, really, really huge. So the sooner we can get this going, the better it's going to be. So thank you so much for your work. I know, Ray, you've been very, you know, out there trying to not just educate people, but also, you know, get funding to be able to address the issue. So thank you. Thank you to Lisa as well, and Rosalind for bringing this forward, and I look forward to when the ordinance comes forward. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Dwan?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for thinking ahead to anticipate earthquakes and so on to make our residents safe. Now, out of the $25 million grant, I know that the city is going to have to put up $6.25 million. Now, can we recover that cost by having the owner of the quadplex and so on to supplement some of that cost? Because as you well know that we're going to go into somewhat of a deficit for the next few years. Can we recover some of that money, $6.25 million?
So the 6.25 is a local match. It doesn't have to be only from our general fund. It's a combination of contributions from the homeowners as well. That also counts toward that match.
And what are percentages that we're expecting the homeowner to, you know, compensate?
We haven't gotten there yet. We're still developing all the protocols around the ordinance and what the impact will be, including financing. We're investigating financial packages and things like that as well.
And does a lot of these soft building owners knows that they can apply for this particular grant?
We're doing the outreach right now, and we're continuing to do the outreach, and probably will always have an outreach program to make sure we're reaching out and getting the attention of all the landowners so that they do address this and do know what the program's about.
And when you're reaching out to these landlords, is it coming in multiple languages, I would hope?
Yes, we have the programs, the outreach we've already done have interpreters online. If it's Zoom or if we're in person, we have the interpreter present with us.
And is there a timeline to when you receive the grant, the $25 million? Is there a timeline to you know, completion?
Yeah, it's a 3-year project, and we can, as time goes on and you're running into some delays, you can ask for extensions.
And most of these projects, after the landlord get portion of the grant or reimbursement, it's up to them to find a contractor that can retrofit the building. Am I correct?
Correct.
And do we have any plan to help these landlords to reach out to contractor or subcontractor that can, 3,000 buildings is quite a bit in order to get retrofit?
Yeah, thank you, Council Member. That's actually one of the big items we heard in doing our engagement with building owners about, are there in fact going to be enough contractors, engineers to actually do the work? So that is something that, staff is going to definitely take a look at, probably speak with engineer associations to really build capacity, because if we do get this grant and we have a lot of people, all at once retrofitting their buildings, there will be a huge demand. So we certainly understand that concern.
I just want to clarify one thing. At the $6.250 million, how much do you anticipate we can recover with the landlord participation? Approximate in percentages.
We're still working on the process, so we'll figure that out and have that as part of the presentation when we come back.
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Council Member. I think we're ready to vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Torres absent.
Great. Torres is back.
Yay. And Torres votes yes, so the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Great. We're on to, thank you again to staff for your work on this. We're on to open forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to any city business that was not on today's agenda.
Sorry, I have Amin followed by Blair. Amin is in person. Yes.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Mayor and councilmen and women. My name is Amin Modad. I'm a longtime resident of San Jose, father and a grandfather. I came to address you today in terms of homelessness and the suffering that many people we see in San Jose are undergoing. When I moved to San Jose in the early 80s, there were none of that, and I drive around, I see all this homelessness going on. And so my wife and I decided to build a house, an ADU in the back of our home. We have a 3-car parking, and hoping that we would help our city with housing. And the idea is that we have 3-car parking in the parking, and we want to convert to an ADU with the living on the top and parking on the bottom. Not a problem. Talk to our neighbors, a great idea. Came to the city, they said no. They said, I said, why? I said, because of state law, you can only build ADU at the bottom. You can't build on top of the garage. Okay, so I called the state, and they says, we don't have no problem with it. They sent me a letter. Sent it to the city, we didn't hear anything. Came back and talked to them back and forth. Turns out that there were 2 ordinances that were put in the city of San Jose. And unfortunately, Mayor, you voted on it. Foley, Jimenez, Cohen, and Davis, you voted on it. And one of them is for mostly well-off people. 70% of the people that own single family in San Jose are white. They can build ADU in the back with 18 feet, 20 feet high, and 2-story, 24 feet. But minorities, people that live in the plexes, they were restricted to 16 feet. So it turns out my home is a duplex, and they said that law apply. I can build. I want to build. I want to help the people of San Jose. My wife and I don't mind sharing our property. It's been 2 years now we couldn't build just because of that parking. And I was told, if you want to build, put the cars outside in front of my neighbor's house.
Thank you.
It makes no sense.
I appreciate you being here with that, and normally we don't go back and forth in public comment, but I will just highlight, sir, Stephen Noe on my team here can maybe grab you on the way out and get your contact information so we can follow up and understand what, if anything, may be done about your issue. Appreciate you being here. Okay, if you could give that to Stephen, that would be great. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to be here today.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting today. It looks like you are coming to a conclusion about the city government worker issues, contract issues. Congratulations to all sides on the matter. I hope we can really get down now to, we have, I think, a couple interesting years coming up in the next few years. I think there's ways we can all work together to really solve issues and create really interesting community projects. So good luck in our efforts to really come together in the next few years and what can really be done. And I hope things don't get stopped or blocked because of union demands. As much as I want to respect city government workers, I hope they're prepared to really put in their all now to make good city practices and projects coming up. With that said, I guess, for me, it's fall. It's time to reconsider where we are with tech accountability issues. I think a committee meeting last week, I can't remember its name, but there was just some really good words spoken from a lot of staff, a lot of council around, say, the RV issue and how to address police issues. Thank you for your efforts. We're addressing, what is our tech issues also. I think it's starting to be considered for as much as you want the new speed cameras to do things. You want to consider ideas of equity too. We really have to consider the tons of new technology you placed in East San Jose that is a bit redundant and a bit overwhelming that I think we're starting to want to really reconsider. And that's growth. That's maturity as we learn good practice.
Back to council.
Great, thank you. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.